In this program, Alain and I interview Maddy Moon. In her teens, Maddy became obsessed with how she looked and so began to diet simply to make it as a ripped fitness model. In fact, she was so obsessed with her body and food plan that this unbalanced interest in the physical displaced virtually every other part of her young life. Gone were good mental health, good sleep, nourishing food, regular periods, a healthy metabolism, inner happiness, relationships, and all the other things that are actually important to have in a healthy, balanced life. Thankfully, Maddy eventually saw how empty her life was, and so began the long and difficult journey back to reality and the freedom of being just a normal person once again. Yet Maddy managed to turn that journey into the unseen world of fitness modelling that is full of anxiety, isolation, and injurious dietary and physical demands into a positive outcome. And that has revealed to her a sure and useful purpose for her life. Today she uses that knowledge gained over those uncomfortable years to help others who may be tempted by the glitter of fitness model stardom to break free from its spell and resist all the social pressures that go with it. So let's join Alain and Maddy now and find out how this remarkable young woman stopped obsessing over food and diet and began to live a normal life again, and, one must say, look even more fabulous than before.
Good morning, Madeline, and welcome to the Low Carb Paleo Show.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
It's our pleasure. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning. I trust you both are suitably wonderful today.
Yes, doing amazing.
I don't know about suitably because I don't have my suit on, but I feel pretty good. So, Madeline, Jason and Joe told us about you. I guess you're good friends of yours?
Yeah, I worked with the new Paleo Miracle book for the Women of Strength. I was featured in none of those, so I talked to Joe a lot in that. And me and Jason have gotten to know each other over the past year or so, just through Facebook and communicating about our businesses and what we're doing and stuff.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we're going to talk to Joe and Adam in a few weeks about the new book, the new one that's coming out. So,
oh, nice.
I found your story fascinating for what it says about our society expectation towards women and guys as well, because let's not forget the guys. Just a brief rundown. You have a website, Maddy Moon, a blog, a podcast radio show as well, which is called Mind, Body, Musings, and a book, The Perfection Myth, which I've read. Very interesting reading. But before we go there, can you give us your background and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'll try to not make this super long because my story normally drags on forever. When I was younger, when I was in about high school, I started getting really in touch with ethnic things like saving the world and the planet, and I thought maybe I should be a vegetarian. So I got really in touch with helping the slaughterhouse industry. And I started to become a vegetarian. Then soon enough, I was like, this isn't hardcore enough. I need to be a vegan. So I became a vegan and I got really, really strict about my diet. And then very soon it started to turn into a weight loss mechanism as the compliments started rolling in. People were saying, wow, what are you doing? It looks like you've lost a lot of weight. You look great. And so all of a sudden I was getting all these compliments that I wasn't used to on my body. So it started in a really great place, like just wanting to help the universe. But then it really quickly turned into wow, this feels really good. Now I know how to get compliments. I want to keep this up. So fast forwarding, I went into college and discovered the world of fitness modeling. And I got really excited about these new bodies that I found because, for me, I was restricting my calories. I wasn't eating any meat. I was eating, a healthy vegetarian diet of cheese enchiladas all day long and working out consistently, probably 2 hours a day. And this was all the way from high school into college, and my 2 hours were broken up into about an hour and a half of the elliptical or running on a treadmill and just trying to see how much weight that I could lose for that week. And I mean, this went on for way too long, seeking all those compliments, feeling good about my body losing weight. But then I discovered, but there's fitness modeling. I can actually look even better than just skinny. I can look lean and I can be fit and get praise in that way. So then I went on a bodybuilder's diet and started to get really strict about counting calories and macros and putting on muscle mass. It was all about my body, and I got really consumed with just making sure that I looked a certain way and that I could keep getting these compliments. So I hired my first trainer. I got my first meal plan. I did my first bodybuilding show, which consisted of 4 months of the same exact diet. And I don't mean like a single blueberry more or a spinach leaf less. Like I probably ate, I think, like 7 different foods for the entire 4 months, same time every day. I wouldn't even let myself, if my meal 3 was at, 5 o'clock or 2 o'clock, I would not wait until 2:01. Like, I was that strict. Had to have the first bite in my mouth at that time. So I just got really restricted and limited. And all of these things kind of go back into even like my childhood, because most of these kind of beliefs where we have to look a certain way, act a certain way, start between the ages of 0 and 8. So even though I started acting out on it when I got older, I think a lot of these things were, put into my head by the way that I was raised, not by my family necessarily, but by the world and kind of our America. I'll say America's mentality towards diet. Diet means weight loss. Compliments come whenever you have weight loss. People get offended if you say that you're fat. All of these different reactions you get between your different body weights result in how you want to look. And so, fast forwarding a little bit, I had my first show. I was down to like 6% body fat, really lean, but still wasn't lean enough. And I was still really dedicated. And I was like, this was fun. This was great. I lost a whole bunch of weight. I get all these compliments, all these like photo shoots. People want to like throw all this attention at me. Let's do it again. So I continued the starvation for as long as I could, and I was running myself into the ground. And before I knew it, I was isolated and I was depressed and I was searching for satisfaction and I was searching for my self-worth. But for some crazy reason, my body was never bringing me my self-worth. Couldn't find it. No matter how much weight I lost or how lean I got or how perfect I was with my diet day in and day out, I was not finding self-worth. I was not happy with who I was as a person. So eventually I did another show, and that's when I had an aha moment where I realized this is not ever going to lead me in the direction I want. Like, I had a feeling that I would be 85 years old and by myself and alone because I spent so much time obsessed with my body, and that there was just no way I would ever let another person into my life if they would distract me from my perfect meal plan, or they would distract me from my lean body mass or whatever. So I went on this course where I ended up moving states, getting a dog, trying to find some responsibility elsewhere and distractions and fun things to do. And I went on this quest, really. I went on this ginormous quest to just find my self-worth, and started doing tiny little daily practices that led me to where I am today, which I wrote about some of them in my book, The Perfection Myth, and in my program as well. But a lot of these things were very introspective, where I just tried to search for tiny things that I could fill my day with as I subtracted my mindset, my diet mentality. Like, I couldn't just take away the diet and then be fine. I had to figure out what else can I focus on that'll bring me real satisfaction and self-worth. So that's my story in a nutshell. But today, my message is really about, like, your satisfaction is not going to be found in your body image, because that's subjective. Your body image can change just depending on what you eat, a comment, how someone looks at you. But it's really important to be able to find gratitude and self-worth in your purpose and your passion, not this body that one day is going to turn to dust and really doesn't mean much. It's just a nice warm home. So I'll stop rambling, but that's basically my story in a nutshell.
So it makes me wonder, what made you one day realize this was all empty promises and based on other people's opinion?
I think I was getting to a point where I was really sick and tired of hating myself and having breakdowns where I threw my body to the floor and I just cried and said, I wish I looked perfect. I wish I looked perfect. I don't understand, why don't I look perfect? She looks perfect. And then starting to realize that no one has any glimpse of perfection in their life. Everything is subjective. And then the day that I had my second competition, my body was receiving compliments, and even those weren't filling me up. I always thought that compliments would fill me up, and this spectacular way, even though it was conditional. And, my happiness was conditional based on how many compliments I got. People were saying, good job, you're doing your second competition. That's great. And I was still like, I look like crap. Like, I don't look good at all. Like, I don't even get how you could be saying that. And I had a moment where my world just came crashing down. And I was like, if I never accept myself, if I never truly love myself, then I will never live out my purpose. I can't even think of what my purpose is today because I'm so consumed with food. And I really, I'm really in touch with the fact that one day I will be dead. One day I will die. What will people say about me when that day comes? Are they going to say, Maddy Moon, she was really good at eating healthy food. She was really good at staying at 6% body fat. Or are they going to say that she changed my life? She went beyond these trivial concerns of body image and the things that society puts into our brain. She went past that, and she helped me in this one conversation that changed the course of my life. But I would never have that opportunity to help another soul if I was so concerned with my outward appearance and things that don't even last.
We discussed this a little bit before, but I'd like this to be on record. I, as a Frenchman, coming to America, I've been in America for about 30 years. It seems to me that Anglo-Saxons, in general, whether it's British or Americans, seems to be more concerned about their physical appearance more than the Southern Europeans would do. For example, like French people or French women don't seem to be so concerned about what other people think or what the press will tell them or what the media will would tell them to look. They will want to look good, but more of a the fashion side of things, which is what Mark suggested earlier. Do you have your own opinion, or maybe Mark wants to jump in and give his opinion on that?
Well, speaking on the American side, I think that ever since birth, we're shown messages of this equals good, this equals bad. So, for example, like when you go into any grocery store, you see magazines lined up that are making fun of people who no longer keep up with their body perfectly. And they're saying like they're shaming them, they're trashing them, they make them feel guilty, and then those people, of course, feel terrible about themselves. But then young eyes, 4-year-olds see this and they're like, oh my gosh, I never want to be humiliated like that. If that body equals humiliation, I have to do everything I can in my power to not look like that. And then you go into the grocery store and you see aisles on aisles of Weight Watchers approved, so we have to watch our weight. And then you see, you overhear a conversation that's going on by the register, and someone's talking about, oh, I was so good with my diet all day long, but then I was so bad at night. And then she's obviously feeling guilty and shameful about being bad at night with her diet. Like, we have good foods and bad foods. And then this gets planted into our heads, and then there's just people and conversations where, oh my gosh, she's fat, and those faces like, oh, she's fat. Like, we start to not even realize that we're starting to associate body fat with being bad, with being fat, which means, being ugly or being like not worthy, which is so not true. No matter if you're fat or you're skinny, you're still a person, you're still a soul. Your body has nothing to do with that factor. You're still an amazing person. And I think that these messages are shoved into our heads since we're a kid. And like for me, for example, the whole origination of my mentality of, controlling my diet means controlling my life, I got that from a kids show. I was watching a kids show when I was young, and they were talking about, the main girl's best friend was like, oh, life's so stressful. I can't stand it. I'm just going to go on a diet and control my weight. By the end of the show, she faints, she passes out, she hasn't eaten much. Her friends rush around her and they're like, are you okay? What's wrong? And she was like, I don't know. My life is so stressful that I guess I just wanted to take it out on my diet. And then her friends were like, no, don't ever do that. We love you. And then they all hug, and then they're all good to go. Well, to a first grader, I don't remember the end part. I don't think like, oh, okay, it's fine. She didn't need to do that. To me, I was like, oh, that's a new idea, a new way to control. I've never even thought about that. I can control my diet and get really small, and then I have my friends wrapped around me and they give me attention. That looks like a great distraction from life stress. And I'm like a little kid, and like that those kind of messages, it's a fine line between talking about disordered eating and then presenting it, you know. So I think that's where we get, and then I'm not even going into like the Victoria's Secret, you know, and those perfect body ads, and even Disney with like those teeny tiny waists. And everywhere we go, it's just like, this is what it means to be a woman. This is what it means to be feminine. It means to be eating perfectly, eating good, eating salads, having a skinny waist, you know, always eating Weight Watchers, talking about your weight, having camaraderie with your girlfriends about your weight. It's always about weight. So I'm interested to hear about the other side though, and how it's not over here in America.
There's I have tons of questions that pops up when you're describing the situation. First of all, there seems to be a strong Puritan influence in this whole mess, which is the way, you know, like Mark joked to me one time. He said, you know, we sent all the Puritans out of the country because they were too strict, right? And so there's that. There's also the issues that it seems like some people deal with stress by trying to regain control over their life through diet. Is that a valid point?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the case for a lot of people that I work with, and that was the case for me as well. And it's like, it's a false sense of control. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm very open with a lot of people. There are times where, you know, there's a situation in my life where I am so out of control. I cannot control it. So I get this crazy urge to just count my calories for the day. I'm just like, oh, if I could just have something that feels like I'm in control, it would feel so good. But I have to fight it every day. And I'm just like, that's just, where does that get me? Like, what happens once I know how many calories I ate today? What happens? Nothing happens. I don't get to find out necessarily how to control the other situation that I'm actually dealing with. So, you know, that false sense of control, and I think it feels really good to feel like something in our life is manageable, because we're taught to manage everything. So we want to be able to do that.
Right. And another thing that popped up too is that I do understand your point of view from a girl's point of view, but have you seen that with boys as well and guys?
I think that from what I've observed, and this of course isn't the case for everyone, but from what I've observed with body image, I think that males, and I'm glad that you asked this, 'cause I'm actually just finished my second book and I have a huge chunk on it about men. And I did a survey and I tried to get input from guys on what kind of pressures are y'all facing, like, to be a man. What does it mean to be a man? We know what it means to be a woman in America or in our society, but what does it mean to be a man? And a lot of people say that, you know, they can't show the emotion that they're feeling, or, you know, they feel shamed if they're a stay-at-home dad and they're not the one earning the money, and like the wife does it instead, like role reversal. They feel like they have to look at like a GI Joe. I mean, those are the toys that little boys play with, these big old men that have like ripped abs and they're lean. It's the same thing with the body fat levels. Like, you know, women are taught to have, you know, we're supposed to be curvy so we can have kids, but at the same time, we're supposed to be really lean to the point where we can't have kids because we no longer have menstruation. It's just all messed up. But for men, it's like, you can look that lean, so you should. And you should have a lot of muscle at the same time. And you should make those sacrifices to get big in the gym. And you should stop showing all your emotion. And you should, you know, always be the provider and be the strong one and be the leader. And while all these qualities are great for some people, maybe that's not how you were born. Maybe that's not your calling. But if you're so busy paying attention to like what society says you should be, you're going to miss out on your calling. And it's that place where it's like, how do I ignore these messages of what it means to be a man and figure out for myself what it means to be a man for me? Like, what is my definition of manlyhood? You know, it could be completely different from society. So I think there's a blend between the body image side and the emotional side. Y'all have a lot more pressure to act a certain way, whereas I think females have more pressure to look a certain way. So that, I mean, that's a lot of pressure because you can't control your emotions. They happen on their own. So having to fight against that, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, I've noticed that as a Frenchman in this country, I've noticed that I have a hard time to connect with typical American guys because their whole vision of being a man is so completely different than the way we French tend to look at it. You can be a man without being a superhero or being a macho guy, or and you can still have feelings and you can show your emotions. Where in this country, emotions are almost forbidden. As a guy, you cannot show emotion unless you show anger and being the tough guy or something. So if you're somewhat sensitive in this country, it puts you to a certain disadvantage because you feel like you can't express your emotions or your feelings.
So that's why they looked at me funny when I was crying at Bambi in the cinema last week then.
So in your book, The Perfection Myth, you talk about behind the scenes consequences of that kind of diet. Could you tell us more about it?
Yes. So being, I used to do fitness model and fitness competitions, and I think this is my true calling, is to talk about that, because a lot of people just see the magazine cover and they see the lean body, but they have no clue that, they don't have everything imaginable in their life. Their lives are probably a lot more restricted than your life is. But, no one ever talks about these things. So some of the things that I went through, and when I was going through my first fitness competition and fitness modeling experience, I started, even in the fact of decreasing my calories, was really hard on my body. I lost my period, and I just now got it back a year later. It's been a whole year where my body was trying to figure out what's going on. So I lost that several times throughout fitness competitions and my modeling experience. Also, the pressures of just and this can go for anyone that's just trying to lose weight. I'm not saying this is for models or competitors. This is just anyone. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this, but the pressures of being scared of food. I created all of these food fears. Just I started to get so used to having a meal plan where I had, to eat every 3 hours, and every meal was laid out perfectly on this white piece of paper. And my coach said, don't stray from this paper or else this will happen. He never really explained what the or else is, but I was just like, oh no, something will happen if I don't eat what's on this plan. So I had these 6 or 7 foods, and everything else in the world was bad. Bad food meant bad girl. I'd be guilty. I'd have every reason to feel shameful if I ate those foods. So, my 21st birthday came and went, didn't celebrate it. I wasn't allowed to have a meal with my family or anything because it would ruin my chances of placing well on my show, which is absolutely ridiculous, especially when it was 4 months out. Even if it was a week out, it's just so many restrictions. And then I got scared of dating, and I'm just okay, this guy wants to take me on a date. We're going to go to a restaurant that has everything that's not allowed on my food plan. How do I go on this date? And how do I, explain to the waiter that I can't have any salt, I can't have any oil, I can't have any this or that on my plate? And then I would plan out what I would order a week in advance because I had so much anxiety. And I would just be okay, they have grilled chicken breast and they have asparagus, and I can get it steamed, and I can get this without any oil. And it was just a nightmare. There was no intuition. I wasn't relaxed about my food choices or anything. I was so anxious, and that kind of stuff doesn't just go away after you are conditioned to think that way. One of the hardest parts for me was after all that ups and downs of the show, I had ruined my metabolism. I had cold hands and feet. I had to go pee in the bathroom every 30 minutes because it was just going right through me. I had 2 workouts a day. How do you get off that crazy strictness and ease into intuitive eating and intuitive movement kindly? That's not an easy thing. So for me, it was that is where most of the confusion came, because then I would finally eat a meal that wasn't on my meal plan because I could, and then I would feel guilty and shameful about it. And then I would want to go on social media and show my followers and confess to them that I had a cheat meal. And then they'd make me feel better. And then they'd say something it's okay, Madeline, you deserve it. And then I would get validation. And then I'd feel better about myself. And then the next day it would start all over again. And the whole cheat meal, clean eating thing and those phrases, I have a really big beef with that, just because what I went through, the whole cheat meal verbiage, it makes you feel like you're cheating. You're doing something bad. You're a bad person for getting off your meal plan. But maybe my priority needed to be intuition and needed to be dating and having fun. And another thing that's worth talking about that, girls don't always talk about is just getting really, really bloated and starting to eat foods that you haven't eaten in a long time. And then your stomach just wants to swell up because it's oh, dairy, what is this? I haven't eaten you in a year. And you want to eat a little bit of salt, and then your body retains that all. And then you want to eat a little bit of like red meat, and you haven't in a while. So your body has a hard time breaking down almost anything, and then just gets like gassy and bloated over everything you eat. And then you can't socialize when you got all that going on. It's just like, your mind-body connection is just like, it's not fun. It's a dark place to be. And whenever you look at a fitness model magazine and you like see that, you see like the lean abs, well, she probably had to go through a lot to get there. And maybe her relationships are suffering, and maybe she's always seeking validation from her social media followers for every time she eats a cheat meal. And maybe she's bloated all the time that she's not preparing for a photo shoot. You don't know. You have no idea what she's going through.
And Photoshop probably has a lot to do with it too. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. One thing you mentioned, what I found interesting, because I'm into social media professionally, but not so much personally. How does social media can influence your behavior?
Oh man, big time. I wrote a blog post once called "The Link Between Social Media and Disordered Eating," and for a lot of people, they are so overwhelmed with people's opinions of them, and they want to be approved for all their choices. So say you ate something, let's say you're following, there's a new diet out there called If It Fits Your Macros. It's where you have macros for protein, carbohydrates, and fat, right? So say you really like looking at people's pictures of their macro meals. Somehow people manage to fit ice cream and cookies into their plans every single day because it fits their macros. They have just enough macros to have a bowl of ice cream. So say you're going through social media or like Instagram, you're looking at these pictures and you're like, wow, this person ate ice cream and this person ate cookies and I'm jealous. She got a burger because it fit her macros. Why aren't my macros big enough to fit all that food in? So then you automatically are just kind of jealous that these other people can have those things. So you go and make it because you're influenced by them. You eat it even though your body wasn't naturally craving it. Then you feel guilty for it. It wasn't on my plan. It wasn't on my macros. I just really wanted it because she ate it and she looks beautiful and she's super lean and she manages to eat stuff like that. So then you go back to social media and then you look at all of that one girl's lean pictures who ate all those cookies and everything, and you're just like, man, how does she look like that way? I don't understand. You flip through her pictures and then you're just so influenced by this one person and what she ate. You start eating that way and you start wanting to look that way, and then you feel guilty for eating that. So then you throw away all the food that you just ate that's left over, anything that relates to that plan. You say, okay, well, tomorrow I won't do that. I'm going to start my low carb diet, or I'm going to start my vegan diet, or this diet. And you're so influenced by what you just ate because it wasn't your body's natural desire to eat something. And then social media, just, you only get a tiny little glimpse into someone's life and they get to decide what you see. They didn't show you like that they didn't eat all day long, that they only saved their macros for this bowl of ice cream. They don't show you that stuff.
And then for all you know, they might be lying to you or projecting something that is not the real thing. So how can, and this again is coming from the French point of view, when in France we love food because it tastes great. It's a social situation. You get friends around food. It's all about enjoyment. And here in this country, food is like a sin. It's like people are obsessing over food. This whole situation around food just personally drives me crazy in this country, how people can be so obsessed about food when food should be enjoyed. What's the deal there?
That's the golden question, honestly. That's a great question. I think when it comes to social media specifically, you start by purging from anything that isn't making you feel good about food. If someone's making you jealous, you don't follow that person anymore, and you go follow a kitten account, something that makes you smile. If something's not making you happy, you need to be the mature one and to eliminate it from your life. And the same goes with outside of social media. Say you have friends who circle around to talk about their new diets that they're on, because dieting is a source of camaraderie. You go into a tea time with women, and they're all like, well, I'm trying this diet and I'm trying this diet, and then they look at you and you're just like, I'm not on a diet. And then they're like, whoa, how are you not on a diet? Maybe those people aren't the best people to have in your life right now. You need to find people who have the same attitude as you guys. Food is fun, and fill your life with that, because the people you hang around, they're going to be the ones that influence you the most.
Right. And the other thing to keep in mind is we are all different. We have different body types. We have different, we get our genes from our parents, grandparents, so on and so forth. We have no control over that. So why should we try to force ourselves into someone else's vision of what is healthy, what is a good-looking body, right?
I think people just have this idea that if they have this, then this whole other life comes with it. Like it's not even so much about, it's not about the food, it's about the weight. And with the weight comes the life. You imagine that when I'm at this weight that I really want to be at, when I'm finally back down 15 pounds, you're actually thinking about that time in college when you were 15 pounds less and you had lots of other awesome things going on. You didn't have bills to pay, you didn't have stress. You had this certain boyfriend, maybe he got away, or this girlfriend or something. So you're imagining, if I got back to that weight, all those other things would happen. And instead of focusing on the now and saying, what can I do now to eliminate stress and bring more joy into my life, you fixate on the weight and you just imagine the weight. The weight is the key. If I just get back to that weight, everything else will be better. But that's not true. You have to address the actual issue. You have to go deeper and deeper and deeper and try to figure out why, and then you figure out how. And it doesn't have anything to do with weight. Right.
I have to wonder too, is from what you're telling us, it seems like your peer impressions of you seem to be more important than what your family thinks about. I mean, shouldn't it make sense that your family supporting you is more important than what your girlfriend think of you?
You're saying, should it be more important that
shouldn't your parents, your direct environment, which from the reading of your book, you have a very caring and loving family that supports you, wouldn't their opinion be more important than your girlfriend's opinion? You're being influenced by an outside sources that, for all you know, doesn't care about you, versus your parents supporting you the way you are. Isn't that more important? Shouldn't that be more important?
Oh, definitely. And I think it still, yet it goes deeper into your own heart and your own soul. Like, your parents could love your body and love what you do inside of your body and how amazing you are, but if you don't take the time to look within and feel the same appreciation, then it still won't be enough. Like, and even if everyone in the world loves your body, the entire world is supportive of it, even like the most famous supermodel still has those issues. She's probably still the most famous supermodel because she's not yet complete within herself. She's still searching for, or maybe she loves it. I'm not saying everyone, maybe she actually loves modeling and that's where her fulfillment comes, but not for everyone. So it's really just about finding out. I think one of the biggest things that people forget to do is to fulfill their purpose, or at least, find their passion. And, passions usually are purposes. It's not like this big question, like, what's my one purpose? But it's like, what fulfills you in life? And so that's a scary question. That brings up a lot of fear in us. We get all this anxiety and emotion. We're just like, I have all this pressure to find out what my true calling is. But if you just like take a breather and then stop spending so much time and hours counting your calories and planning out your diet and looking for a new diet coach and spending time in the gym, you're actually going to have time to go search for that purpose. And then you're going to have time to feel it through. And then, you'll be able to have more fun with your family, and you won't be concerned whether or not they do love your body. It all comes from within and just feeling good about life in itself.
So it should be, this whole issue sounds to be an issue of self-worth and self-love. If you, for whatever reason, you don't love yourself, then it doesn't matter what other people think of you. You'll still punish yourself, or you'll still try to. So how do you switch from that frame of mind to a frame of self-love and accepting yourself the way you are?
Every person's different, of course. So every journey will be different. But for me personally, I can share some of the things that I went through on my journey, but I started first with gratitude. I think that I was so eager for more and more and more no matter if it was like where I lived or my body, I just wanted more. I just wanted something different. The grass was always greener. Couldn't be in the moment. So I think being grateful for each and every moment I'm given kind of brought some clarity to me. I was like, wow, this actually is kind of cool that I even have a body to live inside of. Maybe it doesn't look like her body, or maybe it doesn't look like my body in college, but it's kind of cool that I have this like warm, safe little home that can take me places so I can go meet friends and so I can go on dates and have relationships and be with my family. Like, it could actually be taken from me any minute. Wow, this is actually really cool. So then being grateful every day, and like not just right now, but every day, I made it a habit of writing down one thing I was grateful for before I left the door and putting in a jar. I forced myself to just train that gratitude muscle and think about the different things in my life that were pretty freaking sweet, taking that time. So that's one of the things I did. And another thing I did was speak up a little bit more. After doing a social media purge and getting rid of, those negative influences, I started to create my own definitions of what it means to be a female, what it means to be beautiful, what it means to, have a rich, fulfilling life, just kind of journaling thoughts down and then speaking up about it. And that's something that I do often today, because I'm not serving anybody by keeping my mouth shut. I need to speak about my new beliefs, because if I don't, then there will be no ripple effect. Like, who knows what, if I stand up and someone says something like, I was so bad with my diet today, I got off track. Maybe saying something, it helps a lot more than just them. It helps me. And that's honestly one of the reasons why I started my podcast, was so that I could talk out my feelings and talk out my journey, so that it would help me and help other people know they're not alone. And then before I knew it, I was stronger in what I believed, and I was more assertive. And then those definitions of what I created, like what it means to be beautiful and what it means to live a rich and fulfilled life, became more clear, became easier to speak up about. And then a ripple effect happened. People started, maybe I should speak up about it. Maybe I should figure out what kind of life I want to be living and talking about it. And that'll help me. And so those messages from the outside world, like lose 10 pounds by summer, or like shaming tactics where you'll get an email. My friend just got an email like 2 days ago where they were like, don't have enough time to work off your like winter body coat. Like, come into the gym and get 10% off, like making people feel bad because maybe they ate more in the winter and they don't have a bikini body. Instead of just saying, you already have a bikini body, just put a bikini on your body. There you go. Instead of saying that, they're like, you don't have one, but if you come into our gym and pay us money, then you'll get one, because then you'll have like, you'll look the part. So, and then those kind of messages kind of start to fade away. You don't care as much. You can call it out and just be like, okay, that's marketing. That's stupid. I have all the self-worth and satisfaction I have that I could possibly want right now. And I feel great. In my body. I don't need to be shamed into changing it, because with changing my body comes the bloat and the digestive problems and the lack of relationships and the anxiety and the weight gain back and forth. All those negative things, why would I ask for that? Why would I sign up for that? I don't want that. I'm happy right now. That makes sense.
Yeah. So I have to ask, so are you on a diet right now, or what kind of food are you eating now to stay as beautiful as you are?
Oh, thank you. I'm not on a diet at all. I don't have any allergies. I'm very fortunate in that area. I'm sensitive to certain things like fruit for some reason. I can't eat any stone fruits, which really sucks because I love them. But I don't have any off-limit foods whatsoever, because I know the minute I have any kind of off-limit food, it has power over me. It's seductive to me, and I want it, and I won't let myself have it, even if I really want it. But the only reason why I would probably want it in the first place is because I can't have it anymore. So I can have anything I want, but I choose to have a lot of the same foods because I really know what I do like by now. It's not a diet, though. It's just the Maddy Moon diet.
So I understand that part of your program is you have a free book, 10 Proven Steps for Ending Any Diet Obsession. Can you tell us more about it?
Yeah, so that's actually, if you head to my website, Maddy Moon, Maddy, Maddy Moon, because if you go to the other one, IE, it'll take you to like a bohemian clothing shop. It's not me. But the other Maddy Moon, It's a free book. It's just called The 10 Proven Steps for Ending Diet Obsession. And it kind of gives you 10 of the steps that I took personally, like the gratitude thing, but a lot more like in-depth steps of things that I started to do to give myself a warm environment, a nurturing environment, so that I could stop obsessing over my diet and start experiencing more gratitude. And it's a lot of like easy things that you may have heard before, but there are also things you're probably not doing. And they're very like important for getting that self-discovery process started. So yeah, it's free. You can just get it on my website. It's on the homepage.
Cool. So can you tell us about your Body Freedom program?
Yeah, so Body Freedom is my 4-week course, and it's for anyone that is suffering from a lot of the things that I've been talking about, anxiety about dieting, not sure how to get started with mindful eating or intuitive eating, scary, like the whole process is still kind of scary to them, but they would like some guidance on it. So by the end of the 4-week course, every single person has a game plan for moving forward. And in that course, I teach things on how to start rebuilding your metabolism, sleeping better, creating a movement routine, not a workout, but a movement routine that is really balanced with your lifestyle. And it also includes email coaching. So normally I do like 3-month coaching programs, but with Body Freedom, you get accountability, customized coaching through email. But it's a great program. I had my first round of it in January, and I had a great group of people sign up, and I still stay in contact with them, but a lot of things that I teach them, like you get to keep the modules forever and the exercises, and it's important to keep up with it because this is not just a 4-week thing, this is a lifetime thing. But if anyone's ready to stop dieting and start living, this is the good program for them.
You've talked a lot about purpose in the last half hour or so. Do you think that's key to people getting their health and their fitness back on track?
I do, certainly. And I think that I think it's interesting because when I talk about purpose, my purpose is to talk about the fitness stuff and how I took it too far. So sometimes the stuff that you go through turns into your purpose in a way. You know, like if I didn't have 7 years of disordered eating, if I didn't have 3 years of fitness modeling and competitions and destructive habits and pretty much just hurting my body, I wouldn't be where I am today. So that's why I have compassion, appreciation, and gratitude for all those experiences, because it brought me sitting here right now talking to you guys. So it's all part of the journey and the process, but it's very important to keep that in mind and to keep your past. Don't have to let it all go. Sometimes in your past is where your experiences lie, and that's where your purpose can be found.
So obviously, you, as you say, you've been through quite a few years of disordered eating. Would you say that your story can give a lot of hope to, the parents and the friends and the relatives of other people who are going through now what you went through, saying, people do come out the other side?
Oh yeah, certainly. I think the first thing that it starts with is, being okay with your journey and giving yourself permission to change. A lot of times the reason why people haven't changed yet or don't want to change is because they don't have compassion with their story, but they're addicted to their story. They have a label. They're known to be the eating disorder gal, the gal who gets attention for having her eating disorder. And, I've talked to a girl before, and she was like, and this is real. And people listening might haven't even experienced this, but she didn't want to get her period back because then all of a sudden she wasn't the girl with an eating disorder anymore. She was healthy again, and she was scared to be healthy. Because what happens when you're healthy? You're fine. What do you focus on then? If you can't be the girl with the eating disorder story, how do you move on? Yeah. So giving yourself, you have to be ready and you have to be open for finding your self-worth outside of your body. You have to want it. Otherwise, if you want the label more, that's gonna win. If you want recovery and discovery more, that's gonna win. Where does your heart lie? So for people who are experiencing this and suffering from any kind of disordered eating, there definitely is hope, but it does start with you and acknowledging it and being okay with the fact that life gets better when you let go of the labels. Life opens up when you let go of the labels, and so many other amazing, awesome things come into place, and they take the center stage.
That's true. That's very true. Taking that sort of one step back, I think a lot of the time the people who seem to suffer the most are the people who love people with eating disorders. What would you say are the best ways that they can help people with these eating disorders?
I think my number one tip for that kind of relationship would to be a good listener. And I know it sounds so simple, but whenever I think about the experiences of my clients and the experiences of myself, the people who made the most impact with me were those who listened, because I just talked it through. And then before I knew it, I was talking about what I was going through. And I was like, whoa, I can't believe I just said that. That's a huge realization. Like, they don't even, a lot of times people try to put the weight on themselves and say, it's my duty to change her. I brought her into this world. I have to make sure she's all fixed and better. But one of my favorite people ever, her name is Gabby Bernstein. She is a spiritual healer. And what she says is, you cannot mess with someone's rock bottom. You can't mess with it. Don't touch with their rock bottom. They have to come to a place where they realize themselves, this doesn't feel good. Like for me, you know, I had that moment where it was after my second show, and I was sitting on the hotel bed of the competition, right after competition, and I was looking at the ceiling, and I was like, this doesn't feel good. Like, I don't want to feel like this ever again. It's all in my power. I'm the person making me feel bad. I have the choice of perception. I can change this perception and get some help and start finding satisfaction elsewhere. And that all came from me. And for most people, it's never someone who just says to you, like, you should do this. And then you're like, okay, yeah, let's go do it. For something that serious and something that ingrained in your thoughts and it's conditioned, you need to have a realization. So being a supportive person, to listen, to not judge, leave judgment out of the equation always. Because if someone feels judged by you, they're going to either get defensive, or they're going to cling to what they're doing, or they're going to beat themselves up because they feel guilty and shameful, just like they do with food. So leaving judgment out of it, being an open, safe space for them to come to you and to listen and to believe in them. Just be someone that knows they're stronger than that. They're strong, and have trust that they're going to be able to work through it, and even pointing them in the right directions, like good podcasts that talk about loving your body instead of the next best diet, loving yourself. Those are important things.
This is very true. I think part of the problem is, particularly in the West, and more so in the Anglo-Saxon countries, is that our knowledge of who we are has become very flat, very one-dimensional. It's all in the physical. We've lost an understanding of our eternalness, of our spirit, and that sort of thing. Have you got? Have you found that your knowledge of who you are in a complete way has increased as you've moved from just being that? I'll use the term wannabe pin-up girl to someone who is more rounded, more literally fleshed out, but also spiritually and emotionally fleshed out.
Yes, definitely. Whenever I was in those days, it was one-dimensional. It was about the way I looked, and it was not a holistic, well-rounded. I was not well-rounded at all, because I didn't care about that. I only cared about one thing. The minute I gave that up, I had mental space to start caring about other things. I had literal space to start doing other things and move my body in a different way. And then I started, cultivating this positive vibe everywhere I go, because I don't know who I'm going to meet, what kind of influence I can make that extends beyond me. And then I started to experience different situations with people who they didn't realize what they were doing in my life. So if they can make such a power, on accident, how can I make a power in their life on accident? So I became more aware of what I say, what I believe in, the stuff that I introduce into my life. Like, I'm really in touch with things that put me into a dark place, like even social media, for example. If someone starts snipping at me in social media or being mean, I notice to walk away and to go do something that's more healthy for me or more relaxing and puts me in a good state. But spiritually, that for sure, I start to finally realize that everything is so connected in a way. And, whenever I'm channeling my energy towards something negative, like I don't want this, that's what I'm going to receive. Yeah. And so the power of thoughts and like prayer and having good vibes and to just believe and be grateful for what you have before you have it. Even if you want something, like I really want to have body freedom. I really, really, really want to love my body and I really want to stop having food fears. Well, be grateful for everything that you have, and then that's going to come to you slowly and surely. You have to be patient. You have to be open to it. But in every single way, my life just got more rounded when I gave up that all-consuming idea of perfection.
Now, you mentioned earlier, people are very much thinking about they should go to the gym, they should do this type of exercise and that type of exercise, but you said something that they should have a movement plan. Mm-hmm. Would you like to expand on that again? What sort of things should be on a movement plan?
I think that the term exercise puts us into a really negative space where we think that the only point of exercise is to lose weight or have an hour of torture or have to do something that we don't really want to do. So, and that's, exercise, it's just a word. It's just a word. It doesn't mean any of those things, but that's where I think our culture's kind of massaged it into. And so, and same with the word like fat, for example, people react negatively to that word. It's not a good thing or a bad thing, but that's how people react to it. So with exercise, I try to not say exercise or work out that much. I try to say movement because, especially for people who are in the mindset of go to the gym, do a sprint session and then do squats, that is a workout. And what if they actually want to go hike? And if they're anything like I was, I would be like, well, that's not a real workout. I can't just hike. That's not a workout. If I want to hike, I have to hike and do my actual workout. So thinking of, changing your mindset and thinking of terms like movement, it's just moving your body in a way that feels best for you. And movement is supposed to be fun. You don't have to do it, but you can do it and it'll make you feel great. And finding that kind of movement that feels good, not only today, but each and every day is different. So keeping in mind, if you have an all or nothing kind of mentality, it's okay to take a hike one day, to rock climb the next day, to walk the next day. Then maybe if you want, you can go to the gym and you can go lift or do something there, or you can do yoga, or you can go play in, the monkey bars. You don't have to have this strict, rigid routine on a plan of piece of paper that you have to mark off every exercise that you do. It can be intuitive, just like your food choices. Everything you do moving forward can be intuitive. You don't have to live by a plan anymore. So I'm careful about my verbiage, and I don't want to say the term workout anymore because you're not changing anything. You're moving something because it feels good right now, not so that you lose 5 pounds in a month. It just feels good.
Yeah, Alan and I are sort of both, we both like salsa, don't we, Alan? So it's, that's a great workout, and it's social.
Salsa?
Yeah.
The dance, not the sauce.
Not the sauce, yeah.
I like them both.
Yeah, but that's one of the best ways of moving and having fun and doing all those sorts of things. When I started doing salsa, I must have lost a good 2 inches on my waist just moving and feeling great about it. I didn't realize how fit I was getting.
Yeah, I noticed that there was a time in my life when I was doing a lot of dancing, and after a breakup with my dance partner, I stopped basically practicing 3 times a week, which was our routine. We go to dance class and we go out and practice and so on. After about a month or so after the breakup, I noticed I've gained like 10 pounds because we stopped dancing. And of course I was a little depressed, but that's so I absolutely agree with your term movement. It's much more descriptive of, as long as you keep on moving and it's fun for you, that should be the goal. It shouldn't be obsessive. It should not. Next Friday I'm getting together with a few friends and we're gonna have some Cuban music and we'll be dancing salsa. So
Oh, that sounds so fun. That's one thing I wish that I could start moving my body in a way is dancing, because that's not an art for me. Like, I'm not good at dancing at all, but I want to so bad, so I should start practicing.
Just
Well,
go for
you
it.
should.
Just go for it.
If you think you're not good at it, you should have seen me 10 years ago.
Do you have any videos? Anything on YouTube? Can I watch that?
No way. There's no way I would dare to post any of my awkward dancing beginnings on videos. Never, never. That's too personal.
It just shows your
But
progress. That's all.
I felt. I mean, literally, I had a very supportive dance teacher at the time, but I felt like a potato sack. I had two left feet. I couldn't, and I was also very self-conscious. So dancing has also taught me to learn to be comfortable with my body,
Yeah.
comfortable by moving around. Also being very aware of your environment when dancing with your partner, if you don't want to end up hitting everybody around you. So there's a lot of good things about dancing, and it's not, past the first. Just make sure to find a teacher that's very supportive and not the kind of teacher that would, make you feel bad if you don't do it just the right way. But dancing is a lot of fun,
Oh gosh.
and
Yeah.
it's a great exercise.
Yeah, and it's a lot easier than most people think. The biggest problem is, I mean, Alan's almost hit on it, is the fact that because it's new and because you're not practiced at doing it, you can feel very self-conscious. But if you've got a good teacher, if you've got, as Alan says, a supportive teacher, then you can very quickly get into it. And and once you've got it, it's like learning to ride a bike. You've always got it. When the music's playing, you can always get up on the dance floor. You might not remember every move you've ever learnt, but you'll always remember enough to look damn good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Going back right to the beginning of our chat together, you were mentioning about body image and how people are trying to conform to a certain body image. I've always wondered who and where do these images that we're supposed to conform to come from?
For male or female or both?
Both.
I think, well, like I said earlier, I think that a lot of these ideas in our head are structured when we're between the ages of 0 and 8. So I think those influences, they can come from our parents. They can come from the hot new actress or model. It can come from our dolls. It can come from the shows we watch as a kid. Like, for example, I think Disney is like on a lot of things. Like, they're spot on with, providing kids with this magical, like, it's just magic, it's fun. But at the same time, the more I think about it, the more I think that a lot of our ideals of what it means to be a man and what it means to be a female come from that, because it's a huge part of our lives. We all grow up with Disney, and like, when you look at these women, they always seem to be damaged to some extent. They're always the damsel in distress. And then the man always solves all the problems, and they're always strong and manly and big. And then they get married or they fall in love, like, within first sight. So it's like teaching us that, women have these tiny waists like princesses do. Men are big and muscular. Men don't show the emotion. They save us from our problems. And then love doesn't take a long time. It's really quick. You don't have to work through any problems. It happens like that. And then he'll take you, and then you'll go off and you'll live happily ever after. And while that's all great, I'm looking at the psychology side of things, being implanted these messages time and time and time again. It's one thing if we watch one Disney show and then we go watch, Walking Dead. It's not going to make a big, like, it's not going to keep us in the same direction. But if you watch like Disney and then 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 the Disney Channel and then a Disney movie and like all this stuff, it's like teaching the same messages time and time again. And then you go play with a Barbie doll, and you go play with a G.I. Joe, and then you look at your parents, and depending, the parents thing I won't even get into because we all have different parents, and that story ranges from person to person, but it's all in your experiences. Like, if you have a mom that really stresses external beauty, then you're probably going to be raised to be really, really, really consumed with your external beauty because that's what your mother did, and she's the one who teaches you a lot of stuff. But If you have a mom who teaches you that beauty is all on the inside, then you're probably going to be less concerned with your appearance. It doesn't mean you're not going to keep up with it, but you'll be less concerned, and it won't be the deciding factor for your worth. Same with dads. If you have a dad that shows emotion, and he's open, and he's vulnerable, and he shares experiences with you, and he hugs you, then you're probably going to be a more emotional child. If you're a boy, you might grow up expressing your feelings and hugging other people and knowing that's okay. But if your dad only wants to do one thing, only wants to play baseball or do sports and then rough you around and high five you but never hugs and never express those things, and stresses the gym and what it means to be around a woman or treat a woman this way or that way, that's how you're going to grow up. So I think our parents have a huge part, and then the rest of it is just like the external media and the messages they're showing at us that fall in line with those things that we learned from Disney and dolls.
Right. As for me, I always wanted to be Alain Delon.
Oh, what?
Alain Delon. Does that ring a bell, Mark?
He's a French actor.
He's a French actor, super handsome. You need to look up on YouTube, Alain Delon. Now, my first name is Alain as well, but my last name is not the same. I always wanted to be, because he's this kind of very French, very handsome, dark and brooding. He doesn't get the girls by charming them, but he gets them by his intensity, And as a kid, I was always a geek, so I was like, I wish I could be like him, So to a certain extent, I didn't watch Disney Channel because we didn't have a TV until I was like 14 years old. So that whole section of influence kind of completely bypassed me, but I can understand that too.
Well, we've had a super chat, Madeline. Thank you for that. Obviously, people are going to want to know a lot more about what we've been talking about today. Where's the best place that they can get hold of more information from you and about you?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you guys so much for having me. This was amazing, so much fun. But you can all find me at maddymoon.com, and that's MADDY, moon, like planet in the sky, maddymoon.com. And then you can find my podcasts on there, or if you are on iTunes, you can just search for Mind Body Musings podcast. And I'm all over social media, but you can get all that stuff by going to my website.
Super job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you again, Madeline, for being on the Low Carb Paleo show. And as we say in Texas, à votre santé, y'all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. This was awesome.
Okay. Have a super
day. Have a good day.
Bye.
Thanks again. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.